Hello everyone, and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire, and welcome back to another episode of Through the Looking Glass. And today we're going to look at one of the more popular Transformer characters. Rather than going for the obscure characters, we're going to focus on one of the more mainstream ones, and today we are looking at Blitzwing. So Blitzwing comes in near enough from the start, it's fair to say. He comes in from around Season 2 of the Generation 1 cartoon, and the name has been used many times since. So let's get into it. So we'll start off with the Generation 1 cartoon, and Blitzwing comes in Season 2 of the Generation 1 cartoon and introduces one of the first triple changers that we see. I'm not including combiners in that one, even though they're technically triple changers. Blitzwing comes in and is very much living up to his name. He's a military jet and a tank. He is a military strategist, and we really do see the best of Blitzwing, I would say, in the episode Triple Takeover, which is Blitzwing and Astrotrain's individual attempts to overthrow Megatron, and we see Blitzwing trying and failing as a military strategist. And as you see in this episode, that whilst he has the firepower and the modes to back it up, he doesn't have the strategic mind to play it out on a battlefield and say a Soundwave or a Megatron would. But it is a showcase of Blitzwing's abilities and how he has to get a coach in to help him out with zone defense. This is where you do see the best of Blitzwing, I find. But you always felt in Season 2 that he was going to be loyal to Megatron regardless, and he was very much a credible threat to the Autobots. His modes made it very hard for anyone to go one-on-one with him. When the movie comes around into 1986, we see a wee bit of a change, and he makes a very interesting debut when they attack Autobot City, they being the Decepticons. He utters his famous line of "Come on down, Autobrat," and then gets very quickly taken out by a combination of Cup and a damaged Insecticon. To make matters worse, other than getting absolutely smacked in the face by Optimus Prime, we don't really see him anymore for the rest of the movie. And then we start to see a change into Season 3. And this is where I think you see a softer side of Blitzwing, and this is where Galvatron is now in charge of the Decepticons. Blitzwing is still there, he is still fighting, but there are inklings that he will help the Autobots, and I think this is where you see Blitzwing's loyalty to Megatron. He preferred serving under Megatron for the Decepticons than he did, say, Galvatron's Decepticons. I think it's quite an insight into what is very much a simple mentality, a simple military brute, to have a delicate level of compassion. But then we'll go on to something completely different, and then you come into Transformers Animated, where the design completely changes. Now, he's still very much Blitzwing, he's still very much a triple changer, and he looks by and large the same with some stylized designs. What this is really good is that you get three split personalities. You get an ice-cold strategist, and a hot-headedness, and a nutcase in these three triple heads. And I think this is where you do see a very good use of a triple changer, because it's very easy to have one bot with three modes and the same mentality for each. Why not have three personalities to go with the three modes? And what are three modes they are? To have the military strategist, which is somewhat played on in Season 2 of the Generation 1 cartoon, but to then still have the chaoticness that Blitzwing is known and mostly loved for. I think it's really good that you see this kind of thought process of how can we expand this character by taking some of his traits and really pushing them out, really making them extensions of his one personality into three separate ones. This is still quite telling that he's quite scared of Megatron, and you find that he is again very eager to fall into line, and you're still seeing the loyal soldier, very much like Generation 1 cartoon, animated to keep a lot of faith to the original model. Into various comics, be it Marvel or IDW or even Dreamwave, Blitzwing has been fairly underused. They never really got the sense that he had as much of a focus in the comics as he did in TV shows, and that's quite telling. Normally the TV shows will keep you off screen and the comics will flesh you out a little bit, but even in IDW, with all of the spotlights and the Lost Light and the Wreckers and everything else in between, Blitzwing never really had much of a chance to single himself out. He would fight alongside Megatron when he would return to Cybertron after Chaos, but he just gets lost in the numbers, no more Soul and Turmoil would. And you do see a forgotten character, and he's too good to be forgotten. He's too memorable for his status in G1 alone to be so omissible from the comics. You look at Marvel's not a lot different from Generation 1, and he dies under the cosmic blast that really takes out everybody. It is a bit forgettable in what is a fleshed out universe that doesn't do Blitzwing a lot of justice. But then coming into Nightverse, the live action movies, and into the Bumblebee film, and we saw what we thought was Starscream. Probably should have been Starscream, would have made more sense. But it's Blitzwing, by some form of disguise or other. It looks nothing like Blitzwing, it's just not even a triple changer. I'm thinking now, I think he's still a jet, and he's just a jet. A big jet, it has to be said, and it screams of Starscream, does it not? It looks exactly the same size, stature, even in jet mode. But this was a hunter-warrior, very much like Blitzwing was in Generation 1, and he would target down Bumblebee, finding him all the way on Earth, and giving us one of the most historical bits of Bumblebee's movie career, taking away his voice box with a great line, "Let's make it official." And this is where you do see a very good use of Blitzwing being used in a live action movie, and a design that worked. You didn't have the clunkiness of the Michael Bay side of the live action movies. With Travis Knight directing, you saw a more G1 inspired but still live action movie directed. You still had the gubbins and the robotic nature underneath, but you had the built design of a Transformer on top. Whilst this very much looked like Starscream in all intents and purposes, it was a very good look for Blitzwing. His stature alone made him look very intimidating. And, okay, it wasn't purple, it's not what we were expecting to see, but it's a good outing, nevertheless, albeit brief. So in summary, Blitzwing is pretty much a loyal military soldier in any continuity you find. There is this kind of military strategist involved, but it's very downplayed, and I wouldn't say it's brilliant or one of his strongest traits, but he is a military threat. Especially when you look in the Nightverse, in the Bumblebee film, there is very much a credible military brute there, that when you looked in Generation 1 there was a bit of a dopey side to the character. But a military hardhead he is throughout, with a hint of compassion being drawn through. It's a shame he does not get used quite beyond Season 3, or in a Unicron trilogy or Power of the Primes. He would have been quite useful in the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix, but Astro Train didn't really get much of a use, so what chance did Blitzwing have? Anyway, that is Blitzwing Through the Looking Glass. Who would you like to see get the Through the Looking Glass treatment? Leave a note in the comments below, I'd love to know what you think. But thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.